In America's rural-urban divide, age, earnings and education are prominent. Political analysts and major media outlets have been picked apart in the aftermath of President-elect Donald Trump's victory over Democratic rival Hillary Clinton, in large part because few predicted Trump would amount to anything more than an also-ran. One of the loudest and most regularly lobbed criticisms has been that the nation's political experts and prognosticators were out of touch with rural America, a region that accounts for the vast majority of the country's land area but a lesser fraction of its population than the country's coasts. Job growth has lagged in these areas over the last few years, especially when compared with the labor market boom seen in many of America's larger cities. Home values, likewise, have been slow to rebound in many regions outside of city centers following the collapse of the housing bubble. So when economists and others have praised the 14 million new jobs created during the recovery, an unemployment rate that's fallen to post-recessionary lows and home values that have soared to all-time highs, the message didn't appear to resonate with much of rural America. Rather, Trump's grim assessment of the economy, which was regularly pooh-poohed by economists looking at macroeconomic data, generally seemed to hit closer to home for this group. Though voters turned out on Election Day for plenty of reasons beyond the candidate's economic messages, Trump's victory map shows he was far more successful than Clinton in courting rural and middle America voters. Now, a new report from the Census Bureau offers a numbers-driven, county-level glimpse into America's urban-rural divide. It shows rural Americans on average are more likely to own a home, less likely to have earned a college degree and more likely to have served in the armed forces than their urban counterparts. The Bureau's latest American Community Survey statistics, covering data collected between 2011 and 2015, shows that 47 million adults and 13.4 million children under the age of 18 lived in counties outside of America's major metropolitan regions. More than 81% of rural adults were homeowners, compared with 59.8% of urban denizens. Nearly two-thirds, 65.4%, lived in their state of birth, compared with 48.3% of city dwellers, and less than 1 in 5 to 19.5% had earned a bachelor's degree, shy of urban America's 29% mark. Overall, the report estimates less than 1 out of every 5 citizens was a resident of rural America. The Census Bureau Director John Thompson noted in a statement accompanying the report that such regions cover 97% of the nation's land area. Back in 1910, more than 54% of the country lived in a rural area, but with job growth in city centers continually outpacing what's been seen in other parts of the country, Americans, particularly those just starting out in their careers, have flocked to urban areas en masse. As such, the report says the median urban adult is 6 years younger than his or her rural counterpart, 45 years old compared with 51. When looking at the populations of both rural and urban America, we find a distribution with 2 peaks, baby boomers in their 50s and 60s forming one, and millennials in their late teens and 20s forming the second, a group of census researchers wrote in a blog post analyzing the new data. While there are more people in the millennial generation in urban areas, baby boomers form the higher peak in rural areas. City dwellers also earned nearly $54,300 in median household income each year, about $2,000 more than their rural counterparts. And rural employment was significantly more skewed toward goods production, with more than 20% of workers in manufacturing or construction fields. The urban poverty rate of 16%, meanwhile, was nearly 3 percentage points higher than rural areas, 13.3%. For rural areas, the poverty rates varied from the lowest, 4.6% in Connecticut, to the highest, 21.9% in New Mexico, census researchers wrote in a separate blog post. poverty rates for the urban areas ranged from the lowest 8.7% in Alaska to the highest 24.9% in Mississippi. The Bureau also provided an infographic for a more direct comparison between rural and urban America.